transfer window it's over. Our squad sealed for the final half of the season, and yeah, the fan base have gone into outrage as it feels like at basically the end of every transfer window. And to be honest, I don't really know what people were expecting. As soon as Scott Sellers put out this on the website on what the 5th of January, I think everyone should have known we weren't going to buy anyone. Even at the start of the season when Wolves did this Ask Wolves thing, they made it very clear, look, we're not going to invest as much because of COVID, FFP, whatever it is. So I don't know why people are going so mad. Like, don't get me wrong, I would have loved a centre back or a central midfielder. Of course I would. We probably do need one long term, but I think people need to realise that Fosun are looking at, or this is how I think they're looking at it anyway. They're looking at it and they're going, okay, we've just come off a pandemic. We're in the last cycle of the FFP thing. Is that European FFP excuse? Fosun can't use that next year because it runs out. And by the way, I'm going to judge Fosun next year. I've already seen people say get rid of Fosun or all this rubbish. I'm going to judge them next year, personally, because all their excuses are out, right? But I think Fosun are looking at this and going, okay, we've just brought a new manager in who, don't forget, when we brought in Bruno Lage on the 9th of June, no one wanted Bruno Lage. I didn't. And I didn't see any Wolves fans say they wanted Bruno Lage. Let's be totally honest. And obviously it's worked out great. But no one wanted him. And I'm sure the board were a bit apprehensive as well. I know they appointed him, but we've gone from very stable football and a very stable squad under Nuno to completely changing after a pandemic, and we're in the last year of FFP. And I know people just say this is excuses, and that's fine, but I think Fosun probably looking at this season going, you know what? They probably didn't expect it to go this well. They're probably looking at it going, okay, this is probably the last kind of cycle of this Nuno squad. Let's just see what Bruno can do with it. We'll give him a few players, but we'll see what he can do, and then we'll reevaluate next season, either with a new manager or we'll back Bruno. I think that's how they're looking at it. And they've got to January and they've gone, okay, we're 8th in the league. We're 8th in the league. Yeah, we're 8th in the league. We're in a race. The squad's really stable. We don't need any first team additions. Like, I think if, let's say, Raul Jimenez got injured and we needed a striker, I think they would have bought one. But the thing is, everyone's so desperate for a central midfielder, and I am as well. But let's be honest, we were never going to buy someone to start. We'll do that in the summer when Ruben Neves leaves. But, because let's be honest, he is leaving in the summer. I'd be amazed if he didn't. But we don't need a central midfield. As much, I was trying to explain this to people on Twitter and people were just like getting annoyed at me, and I understand why. But we don't need a central midfielder. Like, the 3 central midfielders we got are never injured, and they're all decent. And I think Fosun are just looking at it and going, you know what, it's a good season. Even if we tail off, we'll still probably finish, 9th at the lowest maybe. And we'll reevaluate it next season. There'll be no COVID, so they can invest into the business without any apprehension, I guess. The FFP cycle's over. They can't moan about that anymore. And they know the manager's trustworthy and they can kind of build on it. I think people are just overreacting a little bit. Like, some of the... let me go on my Twitter real quick. So, like, the one thing I saw people say is, oh, you know, the squad's so much smaller than it was before. And it's like, it's not though, is it? Like, I saw people, like, replying to me on this and were saying, like, yeah, but Louis Molden's left. And it's like, I'm sorry, yeah, but Louis Molden's not a first team player. Like, if I walk past Louis Molden in the street, I'd have no idea who he is. Like, let's be honest. If you're looking at it properly, Traore's left, he's a first teamer. Who, by the way, people keep saying we haven't replaced, even though we did bring in Chiquinho. And Toti Gomez has come in. I know he's not a new signing, but he's come into the starting 11 in the last few games. He's now a first teamer, whether you like that or not. And I know this was technically smaller than it was on January 1st because Dion's gone and Ryan Giles is gone, but they weren't here at the start of the season anyway. And technically the squad's smaller, but is it really smaller? Not really. It's the same with Tottenham. Like, Tottenham brought in 2 players in Kulusevski and Bentancur, but they got rid of Lo Celso and Ndombele and Ali. Their squad's technically smaller. And by the way, if you look at the table, none of the clubs around us have invested. Leicester haven't, Brighton haven't, Arsenal haven't, West Ham haven't, Man United haven't, Chelsea haven't. The only club that have is Tottenham. And even then, Tottenham's squad's smaller than it was before anyway. So they're in kind of a similar position to us. So I don't see any reason why we can't continue our form into the second half of the season, especially when we get the injured players back, which is in what, like 2-3 weeks. And by the way, I know you're not allowed to say that because people get annoyed, but it's true. It's a valid thing. And I think Fosun are just looking at it and going, you know what? Let's just see how the season rides out under this new manager. Let's say at the end of the season we finish 8th. We've got all our injured players back. We can reassess the squad. We got a pre-season, and we can. Let's be honest. We only need to make 2 signings in the summer. We need to buy a central midfielder and a centre back, and that's it. Assuming Neto comes back from his injury, he's fine. and we keep Trincao or whatever. We only need 2 signings. The thing is, when I say earlier I'm going to judge Fosun in the summer, I don't mean about how much money they spend. I don't care how much money Fosun spend in the summer. They could spend £20 million and have a great window. You know, let's say we got Botman for 30 million and bought in Renato Sanchez on loan or something, I don't know. And then we sold Dion Sanderson, Ryan Giles, Ruben Vinagre, and Morgan Gibbs White for £40 million. Technically, we've made a profit, but still a good window. Do you know what I mean? But this was another thing as well. I kept seeing people say, Fosun have fucked it up. We're never going to get a chance to finish Europe again, blah, blah, blah. I've heard Wolves fans say this for 4 years. Like, look, and this guy replies to me like, correct, historically we've done it, so it's future-proof. I get what he's saying. Like, it might not, but let's be honest. Like, you've got to judge the future by looking back at what's happened. And 3 of the 4 years we've been in the Premier League, we've pushed for Europe. And by the way, that's mental. Name me another club that's been in the Premier League for 4 years and done that. No one. It doesn't happen. And look, of course we might not, but history says that we will. Our squad's very good. We are well run, as much as people don't want to admit it. We are well run. A lot of clubs would kill to be in the position we're in. Look at Everton and clubs down that end of the league. And I think people are just overreacting a little bit. Like, I remember when we finished 7th in that first season, we didn't buy anyone bar Catroni, and everyone was like, oh, we're not going to push for Europe again. Then we finished 7th. And obviously we had all the injuries last year. But then this season, everyone was going, we're not going to get Europe. We're going to be in a relegation battle, blah, blah. We're pushing for Europe again. Fosun, whether you like them or not, on the pitch, we're doing well. And that's what you should judge an ownership on, not how much money they've spent. You should judge them on how well you're doing on the pitch. Same with this. Like, I saw people comparing us to Everton and saying, why didn't we just go and get Dele Alli and Donny van der Beek and whatever? And look, Dele Alli is not a central midfielder. You wouldn't be able to play him in a midfield too anyway. And look, I don't see why people are comparing us to Everton. Like, Everton are in a relegation battle. They could get relegated, bro. Like, the reason clubs down here are spending money is because they're in a crisis. We're not. We're stable. You know what I mean? What else was there? Same on this as well. Like, with the midfield situation, Bruno never actually said he wanted a central midfielder. Like, I keep seeing people say, Bruno wasn't backed. He's not got the central midfielder he demanded. If anything, we want a midfielder probably more than Bruno does. And this annoyed people. I said, we've had 3 centre mids for like 5 years and it's never really been an issue. And look, yeah, we've been lucky that we haven't had like a massive injury crisis there. But you could literally say that about every position on the pitch. Like, we could get both our right backs injured. Like, Keanu Herver and Nelson Semedo could both get their ACLs done, then we don't have a right back. You could say that about goalkeeper, you could say that about our centre backs, our strikers. Bro, there's not what... Even Man City, if Man City lose João Cancelo and Kyle Walker, then they've got no right back. Like, if you have an injury crisis in one position, of course you're going to be fucked. Like, it's just a thing that you kind of have to accept might happen. It's a risk you have to take. And our centre mids all have good injury records. It's not like with Reine, Nuri and Marcel, who are both injury prone. All of our centre midfielders have proven over the last 5 years they're pretty robust. Even in the Championship, we only had Ndiaye as our backup. Again, no point buying a centre midfielder just to sit on the bench unless they've got a long-term plan of becoming into the first team. And you might just unsettle the squad. I think Fosun are just looking at this and going, we're massively overperforming. No one thought we'd be here. Let's just ride it out and reevaluate next season. And also, like, look, I saw people giving Luke Cundle some stick, or like not him specifically, but saying like we can't rely on Luke Cundle. Look, I don't know if we can because I've never watched the guy play. He's like a faceless guy. Again, like Louis Molden. I would not know if I walked past Luke Cundle in the street. But when we bought in Bruno Lage, I remember when everyone was like trying to like get over the fact we didn't get like Gerrard or Conceição or Fonseca, people going, well, he has a really good record with youth. We'll see some youth blooded. And we haven't actually seen that yet, to be fair. Because Kilman's had to start, let's be honest. So why not? He clearly rates Luke Cundle. He clearly rates him higher than Bruno Jordão, who we paid, what, £5 million for. So why not let him have a chance? And this really annoyed me as well. I assume this is a parody account. There's no way this guy was a real account. But it was like, would be at least nice to get a decent explanation. We're left in the dark about everything. And what people don't realise is, if you don't like Fosun, fine, but name me another club that did like a 2.5 hour Q&A on their YouTube channel or put out statements like this. I'm not saying you have to agree with what they say, but they do put out statements. Like, whether you like them, what they say or not, they are putting out statements. And I remember this guy was like, oh, it's not a good explanation, it's a cover-up. Fine, like, if you want to think that, that's fine. But I think a lot of our fans suffer from confirmation bias. If the board don't say what they want to hear, it's automatically a lie. And sometimes you just have to kind of open your eyes. Do you know what I mean? I saw this as well when I was just about to record this. And genuine question: why do people think we should still back the board? But actually, let me read it all out. All they've done this season is put ticket prices up, push out ridiculous amounts of merch, invest nothing into the squad, and promote esports for profit. Look, oh, I don't even start. Okay, look. First of all, Wolves is a business. Like, I know people don't want to accept that, but football clubs are businesses. And we need to make profit. Like, if Wolves weren't making profit from other things off the pitch, we wouldn't be able to run. Like, the reason Man United have so much money isn't because of what they do on the pitch, it's because of how big of a brand they are and how much fingers in pies they've got across Europe. So what? All they've done is look. I'm not going to speak about tickets. I think it's one of those things that if you want us to become a big club, we're going to have to pay bigger ticket prices. And we are playing better football than last season, so it's not like we're playing terrible football and have a bad manager and have bad players. But look, I don't go to games. I don't live in Wolves, so I'm not going to speak about that. If she goes to games and she wants to complain about that, fair enough. That's her right. Push out ridiculous amounts of merch. There's nothing wrong with that. Every football club does that. Every business does that. Every YouTuber does that. Like, there's nothing wrong with what's that got to do with anything? Like, that money will just be used to finance the club. There's nothing wrong with that. Invest nothing into the squad. I mean, we did buy players. It's not like we haven't bought anyone. And promote esports, all for profit. Again, we need to make profit. I don't see what's not spending loads of money in January on bench players got to do with that. Like, esport. I know people don't like esports or the club shop in China or buying Asian players for like continental marketing or whatever. But these things will help the future of the club. And these things don't affect transfers. Like, I remember someone moaning about Mr. Miami. Like, Wolves paying influencers money or putting a bit of money into esports. This doesn't affect transfers. It just boosts like the brand. Like, football is marketing, bro. It's not just football. Like, it's so much bigger now, and like we kind of have to accept that those things are happening. So I think people are massively over it. Of course, everyone would have wanted a central midfielder. It would have been great. And has this been a great window? No, of course it hasn't. For me, it's just been what I expected it to. It's just been an average window. And don't forget as well, we didn't sell any first teamers either. I know people are going to say Adama Traore. Adama Traore has been terrible for 4 years. Not terrible, but he's been underwhelming. He was always going to leave anyway. It's not like we sold Max Kilman or... Let's say we'd sold Ruben Neves in January. I'd get this reaction. Or let's say we were 15th in the league. I'd get this reaction to this window. But we're not. Everything's going really well. And I just don't really see what the outcry is. Because we could still get Europe with this squad. It's not like we've lost any real first teamers that are going to dent our chances. And everything's going really well on the pitch. And Fosun have been honest with what they're going to say. Or about what we were going to do in the transfer window anyway. So I don't really get what the outcry is, apart from the fact that people wanted us to buy a backup midfielder who probably wouldn't play anyway. And look, maybe I'm just being positive for no reason, but we're still in the FA Cup. We're doing amazingly in the league. It's the best football we've played in probably, 18 months to 2 years? Because let's be honest, the last year and a half of Nuno was horrible. Just enjoy the ride, man. The squad's really fun. We've got a lot of players we all love. Everything's going really well. And Fosun will spend in the summer, or I assume anyway. Like, in the summer, let's say Fosun buy no one in the summer. We don't buy a midfielder. We still don't buy a centre-back. And they just trust Luke Cundle, and fine. Then I get it. Then you can moan about Bruno not being backed because he's had a full season and he's got something quantifiable that he's achieved. But right now, the club's financial situation is a bit up in the air. We still don't know where we're going to finish. And it's January. Like, name me one organised club that buys people in January. They don't. And... I don't know. I think look, Fosun. Let's not forget as well. We're 4 years into the Premier League. We've only been in this league for 4 years. Like, I still hear people going about the long-term ambition. We're so ahead of schedule, bro. I like people not forgetting this. And these people that want the board out or whatever, their job is one to keep us financially stable, but also do well on the pitch. We are financially stable. Clearly, we are. Because there's a reason why we're not spending money to be financially stable after COVID. But we're doing well on the pitch. We've been in the Premier League for 4 years and we finished 7th, 13th, 8th. Like, Southampton have been in the Premier League for 10 years? They haven't done that. Villa have been in the Premier League for the same amount of time as us, basically. They've not even got a top 10 finish. Crystal Palace have been in the Premier League for 8, 9 years? Have they got a top 8 finish, let alone a top 7 finish? No. Everton have spent 500 million over the last 5 years and not their highest finish was 8th under Sam Allardyce. Like, just... relax a bit. We've only been in the Premier League for 4 years, and we're hitting with the elite without investing ridiculous monies. And all these clubs above us, bar maybe West Ham, actually no, including West Ham, they're more financially stable. They've got more money. They've got bigger fan bases, and they've got more. They've been in the Premier League longer. They've been able to build up a squad longer. We're ahead of schedule. Just relax a bit. Like, I'm not saying this January transfer window has been perfect, but we're on track to achieve what we want to achieve long term. The club's going in the right direction, and It's not like we had some first team injuries. It wasn't a necessity. Just relax. Enjoy this season's going so well. Don't get like bogged down in not signing one backup midfielder. Just enjoy the ride, man. Maybe it's because football's not been on for a couple of weeks, but enjoy the ride, man. Like, it's going really well, and one backup midfielder who probably wouldn't even start over Matinho, Neves, and Dendoncker anyway, because Bruno Lage loves all those guys, wasn't really going to affect the season long term. Let's be honest. But that's just what I think. Feel free to be mad if you want to. I just think, don't waste your energy. Everything's going really well. Judge Fosun in the summer when they've got a whole summer and they have to back Bruno Lage. That's just my opinion on it. If you enjoyed the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, peace.